The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution is one of the most debated and politically charged provisions in the Bill of Rights. Ratified on December 15, 1791, it states, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." This amendment was included to ensure that individuals could protect themselves and their communities while also preventing government overreach. The origins of the Second Amendment can be traced back to English common law and the belief that citizens had a natural right to self-defense. The English Bill of Rights, 1689, declared that Protestants could have arms for their defense, setting a precedent that influenced American legal thought. The Founding Fathers, deeply aware of the abuses of standing armies under British rule, wanted to ensure that a well-armed citizenry could act as a safeguard against tyranny. During the American Revolution, the British attempted to disarm colonial militias, fueling resistance and reinforcing the idea that an armed population was essential for securing freedom. The experience of the war solidified the founders' belief that the people, rather than a centralized army, should hold the ultimate power to defend themselves and their nation. When the U.S. Constitution was drafted, the Anti-Federalists feared that a strong federal government would suppress individual freedoms and disarm the people. To address these concerns, the Bill of Rights was created, and the Second Amendment was included to protect the right to bear arms. The amendment ensured that state militias could continue to exist and that individuals would not be dependent on the federal government for self-defense. For much of American history, the Second Amendment was not a major point of legal controversy. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, courts generally interpreted it as a protection of state militias rather than an individual right. However, the rise of gun control laws and increasing political debates in the 20th century reignited legal battles over its meaning. A turning point came in United States v. Miller, 1939, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the Second Amendment did not protect the possession of weapons that had no reasonable connection to a well-regulated militia. This ruling reinforced the view that the amendment was tied to collective defense rather than individual gun ownership. However, the legal landscape changed dramatically with the landmark case District of Columbia v. Heller, 2008. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess firearms unconnected to military service. This decision overturned previous interpretations and affirmed that citizens have a constitutional right to own guns for self-defense. The ruling was further reinforced in McDonald v. City of Chicago, 2010, which applied the Second Amendment to state and local governments, ensuring that gun rights were protected nationwide. Despite these rulings, the Second Amendment remains one of the most divisive issues in American politics. Supporters argue that it ensures personal security, deters government oppression, and preserves the right to self-defense. Critics, however, contend that modern firearms pose a greater threat to public safety and that stricter regulations are necessary to prevent gun violence. Debates over the Second Amendment have intensified with mass shootings, crime rates, and political divisions shaping public opinion. Issues such as background checks, assault weapon bans, concealed carry laws, and gun-free zones continue to fuel national discussions. The amendment's original intent, whether it was meant to protect militias, individuals, or both, remains at the heart of these debates. The Second Amendment has stood the test of time as both a symbol of freedom and a source of conflict. While its interpretation has evolved over the centuries, its core principle of protecting the right to bear arms remains deeply ingrained in American society. As legal battles and political discussions continue, the Second Amendment remains one of the most fiercely defended and contested rights in the United States.